West Allis carries a factory in its name. The Western Allis Works helped turn a sparse community outside Milwaukee into an industrial city. Then, tractor production ended. Bankruptcy followed, and the land that had shaped the city became a patchwork of shops, offices, contaminated parcels, and surviving factory walls. That sequence sounds like the rise and fall of one giant company. But the harder story is how a city untangles itself from an engine built into its name, its tax base, and its street grid. In 1902, residents of North Greenfield incorporated as the village of West Allis after the new Allis plant arrived. By 1979, manufacturing supplied almost half of all jobs in the city. When that economy broke, the old works could not simply disappear. North Greenfield already existed, sparsely developed but linked to Milwaukee by streetcar and railroad. But in 1900, Allis chose the area for a new plant with room to expand. The decision drew speculative worker housing. It also helped attract dozens of other factories. 2 years later, the village adopted the name West Allis. The local explanation is wonderfully practical. Workers and suppliers distinguished this operation from the older Milwaukee Works by calling it the West Allis plant. The name was not ceremonial. It described a works of city-making scale, a 1921 company. Pamphlet boasted of 116 acres, 8,000 employees, and capacity for 100 tractors a day. That was advertising, not an audited measurement, but it shows how the company presented its footprint. The machinery made there extended well beyond tractors, including turbines, electrical equipment, mining machinery, and equipment for power plants and flour mills. Allis became the backbone of the local economy, though West Allis was never literally a one-company town. By 1979, West Allis had 14,701 manufacturing jobs, almost half of all jobs inside the city. A decade earlier, industrial land had represented 30% of the city's land tax base. These are citywide manufacturing figures, not Allis-Chalmers alone. That distinction matters because the city's strength had become a wider vulnerability. When factories weakened, jobs, wages, population, and property taxes could all move together. The pressure came from several directions. By 1985, the national farm equipment market was in its 6th consecutive year of decline from the 1979 peak. Depressed farm income, heavy debt, high real interest rates, lower commodity prices, a stronger dollar, weaker overseas purchasing conditions, and plentiful used equipment all reduced demand for new machines. Allis-Chalmers also carried company-specific burdens. Domestic cash flow was inadequate, debt service remained, retiree healthcare obligations weighed on the company, and a 2-year attempt to restructure debt failed. This was not one villain or one bad decision. It was a market shock meeting a company already struggling to downsize. In 1985, Allis-Chalmers sold its tractor division. Even the word closed needs care. Production facilities north of Greenfield Avenue and east of South 70th Street closed in 1984. The last tractor left the West Allis assembly line in December 1985. About 100 production workers remained by then, not the undated peak of 17,000 once employed across the sprawling complex. Allis-Chalmers filed for Chapter 11 on June 29, 1987, roughly 18 months after the last tractor. A local office survived until 1999. There was no single moment when every light in every building went dark. But West Allis did experience a civic break. Between 1979 and 1989, municipal accounts describe a loss of roughly 8,500 to nearly 9,000 manufacturing jobs, 10,000 residents, and about 22 to 25% of the average wage. The property tax burden shifted sharply from industry toward residential property. Those losses overlap the Allis contraction, but they cannot all be assigned to it. The city later reported that 40% of manufacturing jobs disappeared, even when former Allis-Chalmers losses were excluded. Service sector growth offset about half of the manufacturing job decline in one study period. West Allis did not empty out. It had to change its economic shape. The most immediate proof was land. A city master plan had already anticipated reconsidering the Allis property if the company left. In 1987, the closure prompted a comprehensive land use update. One production area that had closed in 1984 was raised 2 years later and became West Allis Town Center in 1987. Nearby plants gave way to Market Square and a bank office building by 1990. These were early answers to an enormous question. What could replace heavy industrial buildings, obsolete utility systems, and contaminated ground when the former works was too large to treat as one site? The answer came parcel by parcel. In 1993, the city bought a 26-acre tractor plant, parcel and rebuilt it as the West Allis Business Park, eventually selling most of the land for offices, manufacturing, warehouses, and headquarters. Another section had served as a cooling reservoir, electrical substation, and utility corridor. Investigators found lead, oil and grease, industrial chemicals, asbestos, and foundry sand. After investigation and remediation, that utility land became a stormwater quality basin completed in 2004. The industrial past was not being erased. Its reservoirs, power systems, soil conditions, and oversized parcels were determining what could be built next, how much public intervention it required, and how long the conversion would take. Some of the largest shells found a second life. At Summit Place, 3 former shops were rehabilitated into 678,000 square feet of office space. A 2022 city report listed occupancy near 97%, more than 100 businesses, and 2,646 jobs in the district summary. A 1931 tractor division office survived as classrooms and offices. Elsewhere, another company office was demolished in 2019 for a hotel. Reuse and demolition proceeded side by side. That makes the present-day landscape easy to misread. Retail centers and occupied offices can suggest that the old complex has been fully recovered. It has not. In December 2024, Wisconsin funded a $2 million soil cleanup loan for another 4 and a half-acre former tractor manufacturing parcel at 1070 South 70th Street. Its buildings and above-ground tanks had already been removed, and multi-family housing was planned. Nearly 4 decades after the last tractor, the ground still carried costs that had to be resolved before the next use could proceed. Redevelopment here is a continuing negotiation with industrial geography, not a finished before and after picture. West Allis was named for the Allis Company and its Western Works, though not for one factory building. And the works did close, though in stages, production areas in 1984, the final tractor in 1985, bankruptcy in 1987, and the local office much later. The consequence is visible in what replaced it. A factory could leave payrolls and assembly lines behind, but it could not remove its scale from the map. The name stayed. So did buildings, utility corridors, polluted soil, redevelopment districts, and the civic obligation to make those pieces useful again. West Allis outlived its namesake industry, but it still lives on land arranged by it.